You know, in the Mahabharata, some moments are just legendary. They're so powerful they pretty much define the entire epic, and maybe none is more famous than the single insult that is said to have kicked off a world-ending war. We're talking about one sentence that supposedly sealed the fate of an entire dynasty.
The son of a blind man is also blind. That's the one. A sharp, incredibly cutting remark supposedly thrown by Draupadi at Duryodhana right after he stumbled in the stunning palace of illusions. For generations, this line has been held up as the ultimate humiliation, the thing that lit the fire of his hatred and led straight to that fateful game of dice and, well, the war.
But here's the thing. What if that pivotal, story-defining insult was never actually said? I mean, is it possible that one of the most famous lines in the entire epic is, in fact, a complete myth? Well, that's exactly the question we're going to tackle today.
To really get to the bottom of this, we have to go back, way back. Not to the movies, not to the TV shows or the comics, but to the original source itself, the Sanskrit epic written down by Vyasa. Let's dig in and see what the ancient text actually tells us.
And here it is, the big reveal. After combing through the original Vyasa Mahabharata, and I'm talking about the most scholarly, critical edition out there, the result is crystal clear. That line, "the son of a blind man is also blind," is nowhere to be found. It just isn't there. It means the very insult that we all thought started the war is completely absent from the original story.
Okay, so if Draupadi didn't say it, then what actually happened in that Palace of Illusions, the Maya Sabha? This is where it gets interesting. Let's reconstruct the scene based purely on what the ancient text describes.
All right, so according to the text, Duryodhana was totally confused by the illusions. First, he sees a crystal floor, thinks it's a pool of water, and hikes up his robes. A little later, he sees an actual pool of water, thinks it's a solid floor, and falls right in. So who laughed? Well, the epic is super specific here. It names Bhima, Arjuna, Nakula, and Sahadeva, along with some of the palace guards. But here's the most critical piece of the puzzle. Most authentic versions of the text say Draupadi wasn't even there to see it happen.
This brings up a pretty fascinating question, doesn't it? If this iconic line isn't actually in the Mahabharata, where in the world did it come from? How did it get so deeply burned into our collective memory that millions of people believe it's straight from the ancient text?
Well, the answer really speaks to the incredible power of modern media. The line was made famous and was almost certainly invented for B.R. Chopra's iconic 1988 TV series Mahabharata. Think about it from a scriptwriter's perspective. They needed a really sharp, personal reason for Duryodhana's fury. This made-up line was perfect. It boils down a complex emotion like envy into a single gut punch of an insult. And it was so effective, it basically overwrote the original text for an entire generation.
Now, let's be super clear. This does not mean Duryodhana wasn't humiliated. Oh, he absolutely was. But his pain, his rage, it wasn't sparked by a single taunt from Draupadi. The original text gives us a much more complicated and, honestly, a much more human reason for why he was so tormented.
When Duryodhana gets back to Hastinapur, he completely unloads on his father. The epic actually records his exact words in the Sabha Parva. So let's take a look at what he himself said was the cause of all his suffering. And the translation is this: "Seeing that splendor and the ridicule from the guards, I am burning as if in a fire." See what he's focused on? It's the sheer overwhelming wealth and power of the Pandavas and the general mockery from everyone around him. His pain came from a really deep-seated jealousy and the sting of public shame, not one specific insult from one person.
So why does getting this one detail right even matter? I mean, what's the big deal? Well, it matters because it's a perfect example of just how powerful modern storytelling is, how it can so easily reshape and even replace our understanding of these ancient narratives. So let's just recap what we figured out. That famous insult? It's a modern invention, probably cooked up for TV. The original text says it was the Pandava brothers and the guards who laughed. Duryodhana's real agony was a toxic cocktail of envy over his cousin's success and the shame of being ridiculed in public. And this whole thing just goes to show how media can literally rewrite the stories we think we know.
And that really leaves us with one last big question to think about. If a story this central to an epic can be so fundamentally changed by a TV show from a few decades ago, how many of our other cultural or historical truths aren't ancient facts at all, but are actually just creations of more recent stories? It's a good reminder to always try to go back to the source.